For decades, the name was Apple or Microsoft, maybe Tesla, the absolute goats of tech, the trillion-dollar club. Then, a company you probably only knew from hooking up your gaming rig quietly started to glow up hard. It wasn't about selling phones or fancy cars. It was about selling the spark of the future. The raw, foundational power that runs the largest, most ambitious technological dream of our time: artificial intelligence. In a financial saga of absolute madness, one company's value didn't just climb, it straight up detonated. $3 trillion. That's wild. It's now worth more than the entire GDP of countries like Australia, Canada, or South Korea. This isn't just a successful company. It's the hidden, single winner of the AI gold rush. This is the story of how historical wealth was built. From a single napkin sketch at a cheap diner to powering every app, every search, every innovation in computing today. Seriously, stick around, because the most shocking part of this journey is its multiple near-death experiences. They almost went belly up. Welcome to Historical Wealth, where we examine the biggest shifts in fortune that change the world. Today, we peel back the layers on Nvidia's explosive rise from zero to $3 trillion documentary. Our thumbnail promised absolute madness, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this company's market cap is not just a number, but a seismic shift in economic history. We're going to hit the iconic Denny's meeting, check out the catastrophic $20 million failure that almost took them out in '95, and trace the radical billion-dollar decision, the massive pivot away from gaming, that basically started the AI tsunami. Let's dive in. You see CEO Jensen Huang today, the leather jacket, the confident energy. But can you imagine the three founders of a $3 trillion company meeting in a Denny's diner, having no idea what product they'd actually sell? The first near-death moment of Nvidia wasn't a product failure. It was a total vibe check. How did they find their killer idea? The genesis of this empire begins in 1993 with three gurus of engineering: Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preem. They were all rooted in the high-end workstation industry, the expensive corporate side of graphics. But they sensed a fundamental shift coming. This shift was the personal computer, PC, which was about to become mainstream. In the early 90s, the PC was basic. It lacked microphones, speakers, and, critically, powerful graphics. The three men made a big bet. The PC was going to move into the home, and the killer application, the thing that would make people buy, would be video games. This was a hot take at the time. As Huang recalled, investors were telling them, "Dude, people don't start companies just so folks can play games." But they bet on building hardware for 3D graphics for the home user. This vision was solidified during their legendary meetings at a Denny's diner in East San Jose. The name Nvidia came from a programmer's habit. They used NV, next version, when saving files. They landed on Nvidia, a nod to the Latin word for envy, Nvidia, a perfectly ambitious name for a company aiming to be the performance leader. With a minuscule $40,000 in initial capital, they formalized their partnership. They were officially in the game. Imagine securing $20 million in funding from OG venture capitalists like Sequoia Capital, only to release your first product and have 99.6% of the units returned. That's a fail of epic proportions. How did a chilling warning from a legendary VC save Nvidia from getting smoked early on? First, they had to secure the bag Jensen Huang's former boss helped arrange a pitch with Sequoia's Don Valentine. Despite Huang saying he was so anxious he totally bombed the pitch, the endorsement secured the funding Valentine's parting shot. After funding them, he gave them a chilling warning: "If you lose my money, I'll kill you." Talk about pressure. In November 1995, Nvidia released its first product, the NV1 chip. The idea was to combine 2D/3D graphics, audio, and a game port. The problem? Tech gone wrong and bad timing. The NV1 was optimized for quadratic primitives, a proprietary graphics standard. But the emerging industry giant, Microsoft, favored triangle primitives through its new DirectX API. Nvidia had built a powerful chip for the wrong format. The financial damage was instant. Of the 250,000 units shipped, a staggering 249,000 were sent back. Retail sales were non-existent. The second chip, the NV2, was instantly cancelled, and people were laid off. This failure led to a massive financial crisis, but it also forged Nvidia's unofficial, haunting company motto, a constant reminder of how close they came to folding. We're only 30 days away from going out of business. This intense fear of failure became the drive for their next desperate Hail Mary. They had 1 month of payroll left. That little bit of cash from the cancelled Sega contract was all gone. This was crunch time. How did Nvidia, facing imminent collapse, design the product that wouldn't just save them, but would redefine an entire category of computing? The answer lies in realizing they needed to play ball with Microsoft. The NV1 failure taught them a vital lesson. Adapt or perish. Nvidia abandoned their own tech and decided to build the absolute best chip for the industry's new standard, Microsoft DirectX. Released in August 1997, the Riva 128 was their second chance. It was a technical marvel, the first chip to seamlessly combine 3D, 2D, and video acceleration while being fully DirectX compatible. It wiped the floor with the competition and, critically, was priced right. Within just 4 months, it sold 1 million units, turning a near-zero bank account into a goldmine. The real historical wealth creation moment, however, came in 1999. Nvidia released the GeForce 256 and, for the first time, coined the term GPU, Graphics Processing Unit. This chip featured programmability, a core feature that would eventually prove more valuable than all the gold in Fort Knox. It was huge, literally bigger than the CPUs of the time, and it locked down their dominance in gaming. This new level of baller status led to a massive partnership. Microsoft chose Nvidia to design the graphics engine for its brand new console, the Xbox. This deal scored Nvidia a massive $200 million advance and cemented their place as a major, crucial player in global tech. The 30-day clock was finally silenced. The 2000s were defined by an intense corporate grudge match that included lawsuits, bitter public feuds, and a satirical website created by Nvidia called Intel's Insides. But this fight wasn't just corporate drama. It was a battle over the future of computing. How did Nvidia's stubborn belief in the GPU set the stage for the absolute madness of their current valuation? The central feud with Intel was over the increasing irrelevance of the traditional CPU, Central Processing Unit. Intel was the king of the CPU, but Nvidia argued that the future was in the GPU, a chip designed for parallel processing. The battle eventually cost Intel $1.5 billion in a 2011 licensing deal, but the core ideological divide remained. This belief spurred the most important technological move in Nvidia's history. In 2006, Nvidia quietly released CUDA, Compute Unified Device Architecture. CUDA wasn't a chip, it was a software platform, an API that allowed programmers to use the GPU's parallel processing power for general-purpose computing beyond just making games look pretty. This was the first monumental pivot. The initial customers weren't tech companies, but university researchers. Labs at Stanford and Toronto realized that CUDA's parallel processing could provide 10 times to 100 times speedups for a niche, high-risk field: deep learning and neural networks, AI. In the late 2000s, AI was an expensive, uncertain academic pursuit. Betting the company's future on it was a colossal risk. But Jensen Huang was confident. He recognized that the future of computing required massive, data-driven acceleration, and only the GPU, enabled by CUDA, could deliver it. Nvidia committed to a wholesale pivot, pouring money into AI researchers and developing new products, pulling resources away from their core, profitable gaming revenue. This was a boss move. The company that nearly folded over a graphics standard, that fought for a decade to prove its chip was superior to the CPU, had made a quiet, risky bet back in 2006. That bet has now paid off in a way that is just next level. This is the moment where historical chance met years of preparation. We'll look at how a chatbot made Nvidia the absolute madness $3 trillion company we see today. The generative AI revolution, spearheaded by OpenAI's ChatGPT, relies entirely on large language models, LLMs. These LLMs require insane amounts of computing power for training and inferencing. And this is where Nvidia's long-term bet became the essential infrastructure of the modern world. LLMs need to process billions of data points simultaneously, a task perfectly suited for the parallel architecture of the GPU, specifically the Nvidia H100 and A100 data center GPUs, supported by the decade-old CUDA platform. Jensen Huang personally delivered the world's first DGX AI supercomputer to OpenAI, ensuring Nvidia's hardware became the lifeblood of deep learning. The massive surge in AI spending has driven Nvidia's data center revenue to skyrocket, sometimes soaring over 400% year over year. This division, not gaming, is the primary source of their historical wealth. When every major tech company, Meta, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, is racing to build its AI capacity, they all have to buy one key component from one key vendor: Nvidia. This near monopoly on AI hardware is the direct reason for the $3 trillion valuation. The journey is absolute madness. A company that started with $40,000, failed spectacularly with its first product, and nearly died multiple times, eventually secured a near monopoly on the technology that powers the future of civilization. This explosive rise from $0 to $3 trillion is a story of not just technological innovation, but the courage to make a massive, decades-long bet on an unproven field. A bet that totally redefined the global economy. Straight up. Nvidia is currently the king of the hill, but the story is not over. Can a company built on a series of risky bets maintain its dominance as rivals like AMD and custom hardware makers try to close the gap? What does the future of computing look like for the current GOAT of AI? The wealth created by Nvidia isn't just a corporate success story. It's a testament to strategic resilience. They were willing to scrap their first product, settle a bitter feud, and pivot away from their core, profitable business, gaming, to invest in a risky academic concept, AI. This ability to adapt and invest long-term is the ultimate lesson in generating historical wealth. The next phase of this financial saga is just beginning. Nvidia is actively expanding into crucial new areas: autonomous vehicles, Nvidia Drive, robotics, and the Omniverse, their industrial metaverse platform. Every one of these ventures still relies on that same foundational tech: accelerated computing and the GPU. The future of historical wealth will be built upon the foundations laid by NVIDIA. What will be the next disruptive technology that challenges their reign? Drop a comment below and let me know your predictions. If you found this deep dive into Nvidia's explosive rise compelling, please smash that like button and subscribe to Historical Wealth for more documentaries on how the biggest fortunes in history were made. Peace out.